In the headlines, at the aftermath of Maduro's capture, international flights resume at Venezuela's main airport after the U.S. lifts air restrictions. As acting President Delcy Rodriguez says, she is taking charge, calling President Nicolas Maduro's U.S. capture a kidnapping. Trump doubles down on Greenland. The U.S. president says America owned Greenland to deter Russia and China, warning he may pursue hard ways to take control of the strategic island. Unrest shakes Iran. Iran's president offers dialogue with protesters, but warns that what he calls rioters will not be tolerated as economic-driven unrest continues nationwide. Wildfires in South Africa's Eastern Cape enter a fifth day, forcing evacuations even as authorities say the blaze is now under control. In the Philippines, Senate showdown. A heated word war erupts between Senator Amy Marcos and Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson over alleged pork in the national budget, turning a technical budget issue into a personal clash. Demands for CPP-NPA-NDF to be held accountable continues to mount. The mother of a slain youth in Occidental Mindoro seeks justice, insisting Representative Rene Co be held liable as former CPP-NPA-NDF cadre warns of alleged youth recruitment in schools. Glamour and protest. Blackpink's Lisa dazzles as Golden Globes presenter, while Hollywood stars turn the red carpet political, wearing anti-ICE pins to honor Rene Good, the woman shot and killed by an ICE agent. I'm Prince Tripoli. Newsline World starts now. For our first story, hundreds of residents have been forced to evacuate due to the blazing wildfire that burned major parts of South Africa's Eastern Cape for a fifth straight day. This report from Almar Forzuelo.
Flames swept through forested land in the Oyster Bay area, prompting firefighters to battle the blaze and prevent it from spreading. Large sections of farmland, natural vegetation, and residential homes have been affected. The Cauga municipality ordered precautionary evacuations in several areas following renewed flare-ups near Oyster Bay. Authorities said the fire now is under control. Emergency crews have also carried out controlled burns to slow the spread of the fires. But strong and shifting winds have worsened conditions, causing blazes to reignite in multiple locations.
Well, as far as area is concerned, it's hundreds of square kilometers worth of damage to farmland and just land vegetation and all of that's been damaged, which is really huge for us as a small municipality. So that's really considerable if you look at it. I mean, from a high level view, it's almost the entire southern part of the municipality. So that's quite considerable. What we're very thankful for is that we were able to keep the fires from not entering any towns, which was a huge effort, and so the damages and loss there was as little as possible. Yeah.
Humanitarian organizations were called in to assist after the scale of the fires overwhelmed local emergency services. Aerial firefighting aircraft and helicopters have been deployed alongside ground crews working to protect homes and critical areas. Authorities say fire crews remain on high alert as unpredictable winds continue to threaten further flare-ups. Residents in affected areas have been urged to stay alert and follow official guidance as firefighting operations continue across the region. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
International flights have resumed at Simon Bolivar International Airport in Maiquetía this week, following the lifting of U.S. air restrictions. Meanwhile, acting President Delcy Rodriguez says she will lead the country while President Nicolas Maduro remains indisposed, following what she described as his kidnapping by United States forces. Jane Cudnita tells us more.
Passengers are now arriving at Simon Bolivar International Airport while others prepare to board outbound flights. The flight resumption began on Monday after U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy removed limitations on Venezuelan airspace. The move allows national carriers, including Laser Airlines, to reactivate routes to Bogota, Curaçao, and Madrid. Some travelers welcomed the reopening, but noted continued reliance on stopovers to leave the country.
Pues ahora tengo que hacer vuelo con conexión para ir a España. Entonces, eso sí fue un poquito tedioso porque me cambiaban el vuelo a cada rato. Primero que sí febrero, luego enero. Bueno, primero diciembre, luego febrero, luego enero. Finalmente me confirmaron hoy.
Venezuela's state airline, Conviasa, says it is maintaining stable operations and has resumed its scheduled itinerary after earlier suspensions announced by the United States. Regular direct commercial flights between Venezuela and the United States, however, have not yet been confirmed.
Así que aquí no hay duda, aquí no hay niveles de incertidumbre, no. Aquí manda el pueblo venezolano y hay un gobierno, el gobierno del presidente Nicolás Maduro, y yo tengo la responsabilidad de encargarme mientras dure, su secuestro.
This was acting President Delcy Rodriguez's strong remarks just days after Maduro was seized during Washington's so-called Operation Absolute Resolution on January 3. Rodriguez said this on Saturday during an event promoting local produce in Sucre municipality. While touring, Rodriguez said governance will continue uninterrupted and that responsibility rests with her until Maduro can return to Caracas. Rodriguez described the U.S. operation that captured Maduro and his wife Celia Flores as a criminal act that she said would permanently damage relations between Washington and Caracas.
Pasará la historia como una gran mancha en las relaciones Estados Unidos-Venezuela.
She urged Venezuelans to remain united and called for the Caribbean Sea to be preserved as what she termed a territory of peace. Her remarks follow statements by Maduro's son, who said a plan of action is underway, in line with instructions from the former president.
Todo lo que está pasando, todo lo que estamos haciendo hoy como gobierno fue el plan de Nicolás Maduro que aprobó él mismo personalmente. Todo. Nosotros estamos siguiendo sus instrucciones. Él dejó la línea marcada.
Maduro and his wife were captured on January 3 on allegations of narco-terrorism during U.S. operations in Caracas and other parts of the country. Venezuela's Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, said at least 100 people were killed during the attacks. Rodriguez says the government will continue to mobilize supporters nationwide, rejecting what it calls foreign aggression and reaffirming loyalty to President Nicolás Maduro. This has been Jane Coniter, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Tensions erupted outside a Los Angeles federal detention center as anti-ICE protesters clashed with police following nationwide demonstrations over the fatal ICE shooting of Rene Good in Minneapolis. Almar Frusuelo is back for more details.
Thousands marched through downtown Los Angeles in a protest sparked by outrage over the controversial killing of 37-year-old Rene Good by an ICE agent in Minnesota, part of a broader wave of anti-ICE demonstrations across the United States. Organizers said the demonstration was largely peaceful before tensions rose near the Edward Roybal Federal Building and Detention Center in the evening. Police in riot gear faced off with smaller groups of protesters outside the detention center, issuing dispersal orders as some demonstrators refused to leave. One person was detained on suspicion of battery against an officer, and video from the scene showed moments of physical confrontation between police and participants. Across the United States, rallies and marches opposing ICE operations have drawn large crowds in cities including Minneapolis, New York, and Boston, with many calling for accountability and reforms in federal immigration enforcement. Demonstrators chanted slogans such as "Abolish ICE" and "No Justice, No Peace" as they voiced their anger over Good's death and broader immigration policies. Despite the clashes in Los Angeles, authorities said much of the weekend's protest activity remained peaceful, even as tensions over federal enforcement tactics continue to boil nationwide. Federal officials have defended the ICE officers' actions, with the Department Department of Homeland Security saying the agent acted in self-defense, claim that has been challenged by community members and civil rights advocates. The FBI has launched a formal investigation into the incident, and political leaders on both sides of the debate are calling for greater transparency as the national conversation over immigration enforcement continues. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forsualo, SMNI News.
Up next, in the Philippines, Senate showdown. A heated word war erupts between Senate Amy Marcos and Senator President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson over alleged pork in the national budget, turning a technical budget issue into a personal clash. A demands for CPP and NDF to be held accountable continues to mount. The mother of a slain youth in Occidental Mindoro seeks justice, insisting Representative Rene Co be held liable as a former CPP and NDF cadre warns of alleged youth recruitment in schools. More news when Newsline World returns.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulong at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
And we're back. The mother of the late Geraldine Doidora insisted that Kabataan Party List Representative Rene Co should be held accountable for her daughter's death in Occidental Mindoro. As a former CPP and NDF cadre, one of the alleged continuing recruitment of young people in schools, Almar Forsuelo reports.
Ikaw yung leader ng kawalang yan ng party list, Kabataan Party List na yan. Ikaw dapat ang managot niyan. Kasi kasama mo pa sa picture. Naghiya ka.
Anger poured out from Erlinda Doidora toward Kabataan Party List Representative Rene Co following the death of her daughter, Jerlyn Doidora, during an encounter between government troops and rebels in Abra de Ilog, Occidental Mindoro on January 1, 2026. After the recent elections, Rene Co replaced former Kabataan Party List Representative Raul Manuel, who has repeatedly been named by former members and former CPP, NPA, NDF cadres as allegedly recruiting youth to join the New People's Army or NPA. In a Facebook post, Kabataan Party List admitted that Jerlyn was a member of their organization, serving as part of the General Secretariat. Photos also showed Jerlyn together with Rene Co during rallies organized by Kabataan Party List. Merlinda earlier said that their family was unaware that their daughter had joined Kabataan Party List, making her loss even harder to accept.
Pasensya na po. Nakakapagsalita po ako na hindi maganda pero napakasakit po. Sa amin sa buong pamilya. Sa ginawa niyo kay Bebe. Kay Jerlyn.
For former rebel cadre Jeffrey K. Eric Celis, the alleged recruitment pattern of rebel fronts is alarming as it is reportedly carried out in schools, victimizing innocent youth.
Nakakabahala po ang pattern and indication na ito sapagkat I think in this last 2 years na record, mahigit po 20 na kabataan na ang either nakaka-captured o namamatay sa mga labanan. Galing po ito sa mga nirecruit dito sa mga schools and universities, hindi lamang sa Manila kundi sa mga rehiyon pa sa paligid ng Pilipinas.
Celis further alleged that the Makabayan Bloc in Congress funds and recruits youth to become members of the NPA.
Hindi lamang sila nagre-recruit, nagpupundo pa. That ayan ay galing sa direktang kaalaman ko. 20 years and 8 months po akong naging bahagi ng CPP, NPA, NDF. Alam ko po na ang mga tinatawag na Makabayan Bloc, kami po ang bumuo niyan eh. Communist Party po ang bumuo niyan, ang nagpapatakbo at namumuno at nag-umuupo bilang kongresista, mga members at leaders po yan ng Communist Party of the Philippines. At ang Communist Party po ang nagpupundo at nagpapaandar ng NPA.
Regarding the family's plan to file charges against Kabataan Party List, Celis said this should be supported by the government, alleging that the group's actions constitute human trafficking and terrorism.
That's very timely. Sana wag matakot at sana suportahan ng gobyerno ng ating mga legal team sa gobyerno sapagkat tama lang yon. That can be part of the human trafficking case na connected to terrorism.
Meanwhile, Toto Marquez, representative of Cadre Mimaropa, said that naming groups and individuals allegedly involved in illegal recruitment, human trafficking, and terrorism, where youth and grieving mothers are the victim, does not constitute red tagging.
Hindi pa kayo naawa sa mga magulang, sa mga kabataan. Sabi niyo, red tagging ito? Paano niyo sinasabing red tagging to? Kayong mga kabataan party list kayo. At kayong mga taga-karapatan sa Hudin Tagalog na walang ginawa, kundi puro kasinungalingan. Red tagging ba to? Umiiyak ang mga magulang? Naghihikahos?
Merlinda hopes that with the arrest of Filipino-American activist Chantal Anicoshe, the circumstances surrounding her daughter's death will finally be clarified.
Sa akin naman po, sana maki-operate po sana siya na magsabi siya yung totoo po. At sana maikwento niya lahat kung ano talaga ang nangyari. Sana hindi po sana siya magsinungaling. Yun po sana.
For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
A heated clash erupted in the Senate after Senator Amy Marcos and Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson traded accusations over alleged pork or allocables in the national budget. What started as a technical issue in the bicameral conference quickly turned into a personal showdown over has the moral right to criticize. Here's Troy Gomez with the report.
The ink has barely dried on the 2026 national budget, but one of the fiercest political battles of the year has already ignited inside the Senate. It was Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson who first took aim at Senator Amy Marcos after she criticized what she called pork in the 2026 budget. Lacson countered that Marcos herself had 2.5 billion peso in allocables in the 2025 General Appropriations Act. Lacson also questioned Marcos' silence during the bicameral conference where the final version of the 2026 budget was decided. Marcos is a member of the BICAM panel. Lacson further pointed out that Marcos was often seen attending the distribution of AIX and MAIFIP, programs she described as soft pork. But Senator Amy Marcos hit back, saying the allocables being cited by Lacson were merely wish lists that were never actually released. She stressed that opposition lawmakers were all placed under FLR or for later release, meaning none of the funds were ever disbursed. Marcos added that she could not be blamed for the administration's allocables, even taking a swipe at Lacson by calling him the administration's lawyer. Lacson, however, refused to back down. Beyond the pork issue, the dispute also spilled over into the work of the Blue Ribbon Committee, chaired by Lacson, which Marcos accused of allegedly limiting the investigation into controversial flood control projects, an allegation Lacson strongly denied. As investigations into both the national budget and the flood control scandal continue, one thing is clear: the clash between Marcos and Lacson is no longer just about numbers. It is now a battle over moral ascendancy in Philippine politics. Reporting for Newsline World, Troy Gomez, SMNI News.
A resolution has been filed in the Senate to investigate the condition of sanitary landfills across the country following the deadly tragedy in Cebu City that left dozens of workers dead and missing. Troy Gomez is back for more details.
After a mountain of garbage collapsed at the Binalio Sanitary Landfill in Cebu City on January 9, killing at least 6 people and leaving more than 30 missing, calls for accountability and reform reached the Senate. This prompted Senator Amy Marcos to file Senate Resolution number 244, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an investigation in aid of legislation into the compliance of sanitary landfills with the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000 and other related laws. According to the resolution, nearly 50 sanitation workers were buried when a massive pile of waste collapsed at the site, while rescue operations were still ongoing and the facility, operated by Prime Waste Solutions Cebu, was ordered suspended. The resolution stresses that this is not the first time such a disaster has happened. It recalls the Payatas tragedy in 2000, which killed more than 200 people, and the Baguio dump site collapse in 2011, which claimed 5 lives. Despite existing laws, solid waste management in the Philippines remains deeply problematic. Data cited in the resolution show that there are more than 12,800 materials recovery facilities nationwide, but only 343 sanitary landfills, serving 748 local government units, far from sufficient compared with the growing volume of waste generated every day. The resolution also opens a more controversial issue: the possible use of waste-to-energy technologies such as controlled incineration. These systems are already being used in countries like Japan, Singapore, and Germany, where they can reduce waste volume by 70 to 90% while generating electricity. In the Philippines, however, incineration remains banned under the Clean Air Act, prompting the Senate to review whether current policies should be updated in light of the country's growing waste crisis. Based on the resolution, the Senate inquiry is not only meant to determine accountability for the Cebu landfill tragedy, but to address a larger question: is the country's waste management system still capable of handling the rapidly growing mountain of garbage? For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, Troy Gomez reporting, SMNI News.
When we come back, Trump doubles down on Greenland. The U.S. president says America owns Greenland to deter Russia and China, warning may pursue hard ways to take control of the strategic island. And unrest shake Iran. Iran's president officers dialogue with protesters, but warns that what he calls rioters will not be tolerated as economic-driven unrest continues nationwide. More news after the break.
Ano kayang gagawin ko? Ipamimigay ko yung konti para tumigil sila sa pag-iingay.
Pare, magnanakaw, namimigay ng pera.
Eto ang sayo.
Wow, ang bait ng magnanakaw.
Eto naman sayo.
Kuya, yung
eto
share ko. Sana
Huwag ka nang maingay. Eto pa. Tama na yan. Nakikipalato lang kayo eh. Huwag nang maingay. O, di ba? Konti lang pinamigay ko, mabait na ako. Tahimik na sila, easy. Ngayon, pwede ko na tong suluhin.
Masaya ang mga tao, pero tama po ba ito? Di po ba ang nakikinabang sa magnanakaw ay kasabwat ng magnanakaw?
Ikaw, kinukonsenti mo ba ang legal na korupsyon?
Sa panahon ng tag-ulan, hindi lang baha at ulan ang dapat bantayan, kundi pati na rin mga sakit na pwedeng makahawa. At dahil ngayon ay rainy season, nagbabala ang Department of Health laban sa tinatawag na wild diseases. 4 na klase ng sakit na karaniwang nakukuha ng tao tuwing maulan. Ito ang W o waterborne diseases, gaya ng pagdudumi o gastroenteritis. I o influenza-like illnesses, gaya ng sipon, ubo at lagnat. L o leptospirosis, na maaaring makuha mula sa ihi ng mga daga sa baha. At D o dengue, na dala ng mga lamok. Kapag baha, mas mabilis kumalat ang mikrobyo. Kaya't ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at agad maligo matapos lumusong sa baha. Ano ang dapat gawin para maiwasan ang wild diseases? Tumutok sa weather updates. Magsuot ng kapote at bota. Siguraduhing malinis ang iniinom na tubig. Agad kumonsulta sa health center kung may nararamdamang sintomas. Mainam din gawin ang 40 o ang taob, taktak, tuyo at takip para maiwasan ang dengue sa bahay at komunidad. Maglinis, magmasid, mag-ingat. Labanan ang wild diseases ngayong tag-ulan. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
And we're back. Amid tensions with Venezuela, Trump has claimed the United States absolutely needs Greenland, saying he might try hard ways to take over the island, or else Russia or China will. Paul Montibon will give us the details.
President Donald Trump says the United States needs to take ownership of Greenland to prevent Russia or China from gaining a foothold in the Arctic, escalating tensions with Denmark and European allies. The comments come despite the U.S. already operating military facilities in Greenland under a long-standing 1951 defense agreement with Denmark. Greenland is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. It has a strategically critical position and rich resources with a population of about 57,000. But Trump said the United States could not rely on defense agreements alone to secure Greenland's future.
If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland, and I am not going to let that happen.
Is there any deal they can offer you? Either like
Yeah, sure, I'd love to make a deal with them. It's easier. But one way or the other, we're going to have Greenland.
Trump argued that only ownership, not military leases, or basing agreements could guarantee security.
You need ownership. You really need title, as they say in the real estate business.
Trump administration officials have acknowledged discussions on multiple pathways to U.S. control, including military options and financial incentives aimed at persuading Greenlanders to separate from Denmark and potentially align with Washington. European leaders have responded with growing alarm. Denmark and several European countries have dismissed Trump's claims, stressing that Greenland's future is not up for negotiation. France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, Britain, and Denmark has issued a joint statement stating only Greenland and Denmark have the right to decide matters concerning the territory. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, meanwhile, has called on the organization's member states to respect international law. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
Iran's president says his government is open to dialogue with protesters but will act firmly against what he describes as Reuters, as unrest linked the economic hardship continues across the country. Carlo de la Peña reports.
Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has pledged to engage in dialogue with protesters while warning that violence and unrest will not be tolerated. Pezeshkian said peaceful protest is a fundamental right and that engaging in dialogue with demonstrators remains the government's responsibility. He said authorities are prepared to meet with all parties expressing grievances and that he has personally held discussions with members of the public to better understand their demands and concerns.
مردم باید در صحنه باشن. مردم نگرانی دارن، ما با اونا میشینیم و وظیفمونه نگرانی اونا رو حل کنیم. ولی وظیفه بالاتر اینه که اجازه ندیم یه عده آشوبگر بیان کل جامعه رو به هم بریزن. جوانان عزیزی که تو این رابطه بر اساس تحلیل هایی که به حق یا به ناحق در ذهنشون خلق کردن، از اونا میخوایم که فریب این آشوبگران و تروریست‌ها رو نخورن.
His words come amid reports of deadly clashes in recent days between Iranian police and groups the government has described as rioters, as protests that began in late December spread to several cities. The demonstrations were initially sparked by the sharp fall of the Iranian rial and long-standing economic difficulties. Pezeshkian accused the United States and Israel of directing unrest in the country, calling citizens to distance themselves from what he described as rioters and terrorists. He said recent vandalism and attacks on public facilities were part of foreign-backed plots aimed at destabilizing Iran, insisting those responsible were not protesters but rioters. Meanwhile, the Iranian government has declared 3 days of national mourning for what it described as martyrs killed during the unrest. Semi-official Tasnim news agency said at least 111 members of Iran's security forces have been killed since the protests began. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps also condemned what it called terrorist attacks and urged a nationwide rally on Monday. Meanwhile, US-backed human rights activist news agency says over 500 protesters were killed in the unrest. International pressure has increased following reports in US media that President Donald Trump has been briefed on possible military options against Iran, although officials say no final decision has been made. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Pro-Tehran demonstrators clashed with anti-Tehran activists outside the Islamic Center of England in Kilburn on Sunday, prompting police intervention and multiple arrests. Protesters gathered after online warnings that groups opposed to the Iranian regime might target the mosque. Demonstrators waved Iranian and Palestinian flags, while opposing activists shouted abuse as they passed.
Today we are here to protect the mosque from reoccurring people who are coming here claiming they are protesting, but what they have been doing, they have been rioting.
Activists said the demonstration aimed to safeguard worshippers, including women and children, from violent intrusions. Police move in to disperse the crowds and maintain order. The unrest comes amid ongoing protests in Iranian cities triggered by economic hardship and a falling national currency, with Tehran authorities responding forcefully in cutting nationwide internet access. Authorities in London said the situation was contained, with demonstrators dispersed and no serious injuries reported. Meanwhile, Japan's annual parachute training exercise has expanded to include a record 14 alleged and partner nations, highlighting the country's growing multinational defense cooperation across the Indo-Pacific region. Kai Villan will give us the details.
Japan's annual airborne training exercise has taken on a new scale this year, with a record number of international participants joining forces with Japanese troops. Japanese Minister of Defense Shinjiro Koizumi said the latest parachute training included 14 allied and partner nations, making it one of the largest multinational airborne exercises in the world.
今年の国家訓練始めは過去最多の計14カ国の同盟国、同志国等の参加を得ることができ、世界を見渡しても空挺部隊としては極めて大規模な多国間交流の場となっています。これは我が国が戦後 長い年月をかけて築き上げてきた国際協調の歩みの帰結であり、初参加のベルギー、タイ、トルコを含めインド太平洋地域にとどまらない多くの同盟国、同志国等とのより強固な協力連携を示すことに非常に有意義な機会とされています。
The Japanese minister emphasized that the exercise reflects the country's long-standing commitment to international defense cooperation and provides an opportunity to strengthen collaboration with allies across the Indo-Pacific. The multinational parachute training highlights Japan's expanding role in regional security and its efforts to build stronger defense ties with partner nations worldwide. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Vilan, SMNI News.
Philadelphia Eagles were eliminated from the NFL playoffs with three-time Australian Open runner-up Daniil Medvedev enters Melbourne as an underdog. But the Russian insists he will be difficult to beat in his current form. Carlo De La Peña for more updates.
The defending Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles, were eliminated from the NFL playoffs after a 23-19 home loss to the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco missing key players including Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Ricky Pearsall, and star tight end George Kittle rallied behind Christian McCaffrey, who scored 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. Quarterback Brock Purdy led 2 crucial drives in the final period to secure the upset. The Eagles had led 13-10 at halftime after 2 Dallas Goedert touchdowns, but failed to capitalize on the 49ers' injuries. A 41 field goal briefly gave Philadelphia a 19-17 lead before McCaffrey's second touchdown put the 49ers ahead for good. The 49ers will face the NFC's top-seeded Seattle Seahawks in the divisional round next weekend. 3-time Australian Open runner-up Daniil Medvedev will enter Melbourne as an underdog, but the Russian insists he will be difficult to beat in his current form. Medvedev is set to rise to number 12 in the rankings after winning the Brisbane International on Sunday. This marks his second tournament victory in 3 months following his October title in Kazakhstan. He has been playing strongly at the end of the season, consistently reaching the later rounds and securing multiple titles. The 27-year-old, who reached the Australian Open final in 2021, 2022, and 2024, will face stiff competition from the overwhelming favorites Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Medvedev acknowledges that, in the long run, he will be considered the underdog as he has not been in the late stages of a Grand Slam recently and is currently ranked outside the top 10. Last year was a challenging one for Medvedev as he exited the Australian Open in the second round and bowed out early at Roland Garros, Wimbledon, and the US Open. In response, he has made coaching changes, now working with former Australian Open champion Thomas Johnson and Rohan Getsky. After a turbulent 2025, Medvedev is optimistic about his form and confident in his preparation for the first Grand Slam of the year, aiming to challenge for the Melbourne Park title once again. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
Blackpink Lisa made her Golden Globe debut as a presenter this year. Meanwhile, some of Hollywood's biggest stars brought politics to the awards, wearing anti-ice pins on the red carpet to honor Renee Good. The women shot and killed last week by an ICE agent. Blake Ann has all the buzz.
K-pop superstar Lisa of Blackpink made her Golden Globe debut this year, not as a performer, but as a presenter. The Golden Globe Awards announced in Instagram stories that Lisa took the stage as a presenter at the ceremony. It marked her first time presenting an award at the prestigious Hollywood event. The artist was credited under her real name Lalisa Manobal, highlighting her expanding presence beyond music and into the global entertainment industry. Lisa, a member of the internationally acclaimed group Blackpink, continued to build her solo career while gaining recognition in fashion, film, and television circles worldwide. Her appearance added to the growing list of global stars who took part in this year's Golden Globe Awards. The red carpet also became a stage for political expression as several high-profile stars used the event to draw attention to a controversial federal law enforcement shooting. At the 83rd Annual Golden Globe Awards, celebrities including Mark Ruffalo and Wanda Sykes appeared on the red carpet wearing black and white lapel pins bearing slogans such as "Be Good" and "Eyes Out." The pins were worn in tribute to Renee Good, a Minnesota woman who was shot and killed earlier this week by an Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer during a controversial encounter in Minneapolis. The symbolic pins introduced a decidedly political note into an awards show that has been less overtly political in recent years, highlighting concerns about federal immigration enforcement and calls for accountability in the use of deadly force. Meanwhile, federal officials have defended the ICE officer's actions, with the Department of Homeland Security saying the agent acted in self-defense, a claim that has been challenged by community members and civil rights advocates. And that's all for now. I'm Blake Ann, bringing you the latest show buzz.
A new domestically developed airship is being promoted as key player in China's growing low-altitude economy, with officials highlighting its safety, stability, and wide range of potential uses. Joy Tabana reports.
China's Changjiang Hengti company has unveiled the AS-700 airship, a low-altitude long-endurance craft designed for sightseeing, advertising, and emergency rescue, highlighting safety, stability, and a maximum range of 700 kilometers. According to Chen Yangling, chairman of Changjiang Hengti Low-Altitude Aircraft Technology Company, the airship is designed for low altitude.
低空慢速安全稳定的特点，最大航程700公里，最大航时是4小时，飞行高度可以达3000米。
Chen says these technical features make the AS-700 suitable for a wide range of civilian applications. The project is part of a broader push to develop China's low-altitude economy, integrating innovation with commercial use.
广泛用于旅游观光、空中广告、应急救援等多个场景应用，打通研发、制造、生产、运营于一体的全产业链的一个低空经济生态。
Developers say the AS-700 represents a step forward in expanding low-altitude aviation for both commercial and public service use. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Some overseas Filipino workers or OFW volunteers headed early to Dolomite Beach on Manila to help with the cleanup. What do they have to say about the plan to investigate the protect? MJ Mondihar has a story.
These returning Filipinos flocked to Dolomite Beach in Manila, a popular destination for both local and foreign tourists. They did not come merely to stroll, but to take part in a coastal cleanup drive alongside other volunteer groups.
Ang United Filipino Global, actually marami din umuwi no, iba't ibang bansa. Ang OFW, balik tanaw kay PRRD. Bilang isang Duterte legacy, ang Dolomite Beach kami po.
The Dolomite Beach in Manila Bay was open to the public in June 2022. It is open from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening, except on Thursdays due to maintenance activities. However, foreign visitors have requested that Dolomite Beach be opened from 4:30 in the afternoon to 6 in the evening every Thursday, so they can witness the famous Manila Bay sunset. For the returning Filipinos, the project is a legacy of former President Rodrigo Duterte because the public continues to benefit from it.
Restoration activities here in the Dolomite Beach project is now under the Manila Bay Rehabilitation Program. This project was first opened in the year 2022, but in November last year of 2025, there have been moves in the Philippine House of Representatives to probe this existing project and connecting it to the severe flooding here in Metro Manila.
Some of those we interviewed opposed this move.
Ano pong connect ng, ano po, parang wala naman siyang connection po kasi napakalayo.
Siyempre sa akin, hindi.
Bakit po, ma'am?
Maganda na to sobra Taga dyan lang kasi kami, dati yung baho dito. Tapos, bakit ano pa, di ba? Ang ganda-ganda na nga.
Critics further stressed that the Dolomite Beach allegedly blocks 3 major drainage systems in Metro Manila and even label it as merely a cosmetic project. But for grandmother Rosalinda, the project is important because it allows her grandchild to enjoy fresh air.
Okay naman. So far, malinis nga dito kaya compare sa kabila.
Tsaka dinala nyo nga yung apo nyo dito,
Yes.
Meaning, safe dito sa mga bata.
Kahit simoy lang ng dagat,
Pwede na.
pwede na.
Based on DENR standards, the fecal coliform level must be at 100 npm per 100 ml or below for an area to be considered swimmable. Based on the latest data, Dolomite Beach remains at 10,000 mpn per 100 ml, still not within the swimmable standard. In 2019, before the rehabilitation of Manila Bay, the recorded bacteria level in the same area reached 10 million mpm per 100 ml. The DENR continues to improve the water quality at Dolomite Beach to eventually make it safe for public swimming.
Ma'am, itong project daw ay may kaugnayan sa pagbaha sa Metro Manila.
No. Hindi po kami yung flood control po ang atupagin nila. Yun na lang po. Tapos nung nagawa na ito, malinis na, kitang-kita ninyo, very clear ang water. Tapos sobrang linis na. Ngayon, paimbestigahan nila. Anong gagawin nila dito? Ang sana, magpasalamat na lang sila sa kay Tatay Digong.
That is not the last activity of OFWs in expressing gratitude for the legacy projects of former President Duterte, especially those that benefit their sector. They also continue to support the legal battle faced by FPRD at the ICC because from them, their Tatay Digong is the best president the Philippines has ever had.
So ito ay handog namin kay PRRD dahil sa ginawa niyang sa administration niya sa panahon niya. Kami po ay naririnig, ang aming boses ay naririnig, which is the Department of Migrant Workers, OF Bank and OFW Hospital na ngayon po ay nai-enjoy ng ating mga OFWs at family of OFWs.
Love you, mahal na mahal ka po namin tayo. We miss you.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondeha, SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the song. No matter who you are or whatever your circumstances in life, there are always things to be grateful for. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Prince Tripoli. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.